Okay, shalom. Right, going to have an incredible investigation into this particular verse from Genesis 42:23. A lot of drill down. Won't get through the entire verse in this one lesson, but let's just see how far we do manage to get. So this is the verse from Genesis 42:23. They did not know that Yosef understood, for the interpreter was between them. Let's go and have a look. So there we go. These are the numbers for this verse from Genesis 42:23. 1,475. That's for the regular gematria. 332 for the ordinal gematria. Together they come to 1,807, which is 13 times 139. And 139 is Yonah Hanavi. So that's straight away we've got the sign, the only sign of the Moshiach, that he was prepared to give a wicked and adulterous generation. Okay? So 13 times, we know how significant 13 is. It's Hahava, love. It's the 13 attributes of mercy. It's also Ehad, oneness, which that is actually what we're in a process of rectification in order to be able to receive a revelation of the oneness of Yoteva. 2 times 13 is 26, which is the name Yoteva. Let's go and have a look further, however. So we're looking at the first part straight away. Highly messianic numbers involved with this. This is why I'm doing such a serious drill down into some of these numbers. Normally I'd just present the numbers and then move on, put a few maybe related other messianic concepts together and then move on. This time we're going to drill down into some of these numbers. Anyway, Wahem lo yadda'u ki shemea Yosef. They did not know that Yosef understood. It comes to 768. That's the regular, plus 192, which is the ordinal, and together they come to 990. Now, this is already a highly messianic concept because 768 is 4 times 192. Okay, so this comes up all the time when you're revealing the concept of Mashiach, where the regular and ordinal are very significant messianic texts or messianic concepts. They come to multiples of one another. So in this instance, 768 is 4 times 192, the ordinal. Okay, I'm going to briefly, this is what I mean by drilling down. I'll show you why straight away, but it's really very some incredible concepts about Messiah, Mashiach, come up in this particular thing. Look at this, for example. Moshiach Ben David, 424, this is when David is spelt regularly without the additional yod, and Moshiach Ben Yosef comes to 566, add them together, they come to 990. We're talking about a very significant revelation about the unity of the concept of the Mashiachim, the Messiah. The two aspects of Messiah Ben Yosef, Messiah Ben David. Okay, so it's worth having a look then at every aspect of this and drilling down. That means going deeper into these concepts. So you've obviously got this number here, 192. This is also very significant because 48 is the ordinal of Yosef. Okay, so Yosef comes to 48. So 192 is 4 times 48, and it's also 8 times 24. And 24 is the rectified spelling, is the rectified gematria for David. So when David includes the additional yod, the gematria of David comes to 24. So these numbers come up all the time. So as we can see, there's no way, there's everywhere you look at these particular numbers together, separate multiples of one another, they are highly messianic. Now, going back to what I said about the regular being a multiple of the ordinal, and this showing up in very significant places, regarding a revelation of the Mashiach. I'm going to bring a screen up to go through this, and then I will come back to this screen. Okay, so this is us drilling down into these concepts a little bit further. Okay, so this is the situation that I was mentioning. The regular and ordinal are multiples, common occurrence revealing Mashiach. So we've got this concept, Shenathaim, which is from Genesis 11:10, the 2 years, which is 2 years, and that's 800 regular plus 80, comes to 880. So we can see the regular and ordinal. We're talking about the 2 years Yosef was in the prison, the 2 extra years that Yosef was in the prison. So that anyway, that's 880, which is 8 times 110, and 110 is Yeshua HaMashiach, the ordinal of Yeshua HaMashiach. Then we've got this concept, who has ascended into heaven and descended, comes to 153 ordinally, regularly 765, which is 5 times 153. So we see this concept here, where we've got this massive concept, messianic concept here, who has ascended into heaven and descended, and then we've got regular and ordinals that are both multiples of 153. Okay, this number here is very much related to Moshe. It's I sent Moshe my servant. Okay, I've put that in teachings previously, and we know this whole who has ascended into heaven and descended. It's a whole prophecy related to the concept of the 153 big fish in the net. 150, and it was a sign that he was going down into Edomite exile. Okay, the initial letters are Me'esav, from Esav. I've gone over that a lot. If you want to go into this teaching, which is a highly messianic teaching, you need to go find the video which says who has ascended into heaven and descended. Okay, or just put who has ascended in the searches on my videos and it will come up. And it's a really wonderful teaching. 153, 9 times 17. So 17 is Tov, good. But 153 is also the triangle of 17. So every from 1 to 17, if you add all those numbers up, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., it comes to 153. Then you've got Moshe's life, which is 120, and Yeshua's life, which is 33. Add them together, they come to 153. There's so many instances, because both Moshe ascended into heaven and descended. In fact, when Yoteva said to Moshe, go back down because of the building of the calf, the golden calf, the word that he used was descend, you know. So we know that he went into heaven to receive the Torah, and he was told to descend, and he smashed up the original tablets of stone, and then he went up for another 40 days into heaven, and then he descended on Yom Kippur. Okay, so we know that's very much related. And then this is obviously the 153. This happened after Yeshua had already ascended to heaven after his crucifixion, and he descended in some form that he was not easily recognized by his disciples. But in the end, when he started speaking to them, they realized it was him. So we know there's massive messianic there's massive messianic revelation within that whole concept of who has ascended into heaven and descended. And that is taken from Proverbs chapter 30, verse 4. And then shofar, okay, it comes to 580 regular, 58 ordinally. So we can see there's a definite link. This is a multiple of that, 10 times it. Lishmor eth derech etz hachaim, the way to guard the way to the tree of life. So, have I got this right? All right, so 1,428 is 7 times 204, or it's 14 times 102. But anyway, it's a multiple of 204. So again, you've got this 1,428 being 7 times 204, a multiple of it, and 102, which is obviously there's 2 lots of 204. We will come across this number again. This is a highly significant number. It's related to Yosef. because the regular and the ordinal of Yosef comes to 204. Okay, and it's related, and it's two lots of Amunah, 2 times Amunah. And we know that he was in the prison for 2 years to correct 2 aspects of his faith, represented the 2 words that he uttered, remember me and take me out. So it's all related. So this is all related to Yosef, and it's all related to the fact that we are suffering now in exile whilst we correct our emunah, and those 2 aspects of faith that really need correcting, our faith in the coming of Mashiach and faith in the resurrection of the dead. And I've talked about that quite a lot. So we can see, okay, in this, not only does it reveal this concept that I've talked about, these multiples, but highly, highly, highly messianic, especially this is connected to the unity between Moshe and Yeshua, okay, but it's also, understanding the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef, because through the light of Moshiach Ben Yosef, we see the light of the name Yoteva. Okay, so that's why it's so heavily connected to Yosef, okay, and that's a multiple of Yosef, regular and ordinal. Anyway, this number will come up. I'm just going through, flicking through and showing this concept up. So the mouth of the earth, Oretz, Eth, Pi, Ha, comes to 792, which is 2 times 396. All these are significant numbers. 4 times 198. 198 is one of the additions of Moshe and Yeshua added together. 999. Obviously, they did not know that Yosef understood. We'll get back to that. Well, that's where we were heading. The mouth of the earth. This is the mouth of the earth that swallowed up Korach, who was opposed to the concept of the Mashiach. And what have we got here? 792 is 8 times 99, and the ordinal is 99. So again, we've got that multiples, the regular and the ordinal, when this is a highly significant revelation about the Mashiach, because what was it that ultimately swallowed Korach up? I've gone on the teachings of Korach, which are absolutely phenomenal. They reveal who the Mashiach is. Korach, according to the sages, could see into the future, and he saw that he had within his seed Shmuel. Now, according to the rabbis, in one of the Psalms that's read on a Shabbat, I know for definite it's part of the Kabbalah Shabbat, let me just try and find it. One of the Psalms, it mentions about Moshe and Aaron together, and then it also mentions about, in the same breath, it mentions about Shmuel, but Shmuel is on his own. And the rabbis say the reason for this is because, let me get to the Kabbalah Shabbat, it won't be far away, hopefully. I've gone a bit too far. They say because he was on a par. Samuel was on a par with Moshe and Aaron together. So this is written about in the Psalms. Let me just find it. I'm talking now, but it's here. It says it's Psalm 99, by the way, which look at that. We've got 8 times 99, and the ordinal is 99. So in Psalm 99 it says, and part of that psalm is, exalt Hashem our God and bow at his footstool. He is holy. Moshe and Aaron were among his priests, and Samuel, among those who invoke his name. Okay, so the rabbis say, I'll read the commentary. It says, and Samuel among those who invoke his name. Samuel is singled out from among the multitude of prophets who invoke his name because he was the greatest prophet after Moshe, or because he, like Moshe, was a Levirate. But it doesn't just say that. It says that one of the the commentaries was that Shmuel was equivalent. He was on his own next to Moshe and Aaron because he was actually equivalent in stature to both Moshe and Aaron put together. So Korach rebelled, knowing that he could perceive within himself the seed of Shmuel. Shmuel came from Korach, and he could perceive within himself the prophet Shmuel, and he thought he was greater than Moshe because obviously he could perceive he could perceive that from his seed somebody was going to come along that was greater than both Moshe and Aaron together. So he felt he had an opportunity to rebel against Moshe because he felt that greatness within himself. He could perceive through the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, his own progeny, right? So what happened was, what he couldn't perceive though was who Moshe would become. Because who did Moshe ultimately become? He was the Mashiach of Yoteva. So he was at a lower level at this time. When he first appeared, he was at the level of Naran, Neshama, but the soul of the Mashiach would come back as Yeshua at the much higher level. And in the, you'll see this if you go watch the videos that I've done about Korach. When the mouth of the earth is written, that swallows Korach up, in the Pirkei Avot, as one of those things that were created on Erev Shabbat, okay, there's 10 things that were created and the mouth of the earth was created, that swallowed Korach up was created. It's written slightly different in Pirkei Avot, and the gematria in Pirkei Avot is 386. It's Yeshua, the mouth of the earth that swallowed Korach up. He could see into the future and he saw greatness, but he couldn't see Moshe's future, which was much greater because Moshe, the soul of the Mashiach that incarnated in Moshe came back at a much higher level, came back as Yeshua, and he will come back again as Melech David. So that's what swallowed Korach up and put an end to his rebellion. So we can see that this, and 198 is the ordinal, by the way, also of Moshiach Ben David and Moshiach Ben Yosef together. So 198 is, and plus not only that, 198 is one of the spellings out of Moshe and Yeshua together also. Okay, so there's this concept there, very highly messianic, and like I say, it's a revelation, messianic text, and it's very much a revelation. Right, we've got this mysterious word, tophel. The rabbis point out that nowhere in scriptures is there a mention of this particular place, yet it is within the Torah. It's mentioned, but they can't link it up to an actual place that's mentioned other than in this particular prophetic place. This place called Tophel. I've done an analysis on this. I've never put it to video, but I did an analysis of the two places that are mentioned, Tophel and Levan. That's how I've got the gematria for it. But it's 510 plus 51. 510 is 5 times Amunah, and we know obviously the whole concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef is very much related to correcting Amunah. So we can see the relation. 51 times 10 is 510. It's as simple as that. And then this verse that we're now looking at, they did not know that Yosef understood. So we've got those two numbers, which I've already pointed out, multiples. And then this last little box, that you can just have a look at it. This is another way in which I've just collected all these because I've noticed them over time. I've thought, oh, that's happened again, that's happened again. So I just put a slide together of all these instances. This is another instance. This is Yisrael filled out to the first filling. It's got a regular and ordinal, and as you can see, exactly the same digits in exactly the right order, but it's the irregular has got a 0 added in at some point. And then it happens with the despised of his people. You've got 701 plus 71 ordinally, obviously a 0 added. And then be exceedingly happy, O daughter of Zion. So you've got 1,306 and 136. So this is another phenomena that comes up. The regular and the ordinal have exactly the same digits, but an additional additional 0 included. Okay, we'll go back now. Oops. Right, so we've had that lovely little drill down into this concept about multiples. Like I say, there's loads of wonderful things you can just glean from that concept. Right, then we've got this, look, I have divined. So this is taken from Genesis 30:27. It's all about Laban. I will go through that verse now. See above, so we can see there's a connection. I have divined, and what Laban said. I've come across this before because I've analysed this verse before, and it was the only number 768 that I'd previously come across. So I thought it's quite interesting because it's talking about Laban again, and the word is Nachashti. And then you've got the Nachash, which is the serpent. Nachash, when revealed, becomes Moshiach. They have the same gematria, 358. So Nachash, T, I have divined, it's really there's a connection definitely to the concept of Mashiach, obviously, but this is coming from an evil perspective. You know, we're talking about Laban. But ultimately, even that transformed, because we don't get anything handed to us on a plate. You know, we get evil and we've got to transform it into good. We get chaos, we've got to transform it into shalom. We get doubt, we've got to transform it into faith. So we sometimes get the opposite, and we've got to do a work in order to transform that back around into a revelation. So we get a concealment, and we've got to transform it into a revelation. So Laban, this is very much a concealment of the concept of Mashiach, isn't it? When we're talking about Nachash conceals and hides the concept of Mashiach. Nachash is the serpent, the liar, so falsehood conceals the truth about Mashiach, and it creates a false Mashiach, obviously, but hidden within that is often there's some truth regards Mashiach, and it's taking that concealment and being able to transform that into a revelation. The concealment itself becomes the revelation. There's only Yoteva. Ultimately, we're trying to reveal the absolute authority of Yoteva. It doesn't matter where you look in this world. If you're looking at a concealment or a revelation, he's there anyway. We've got to have the faith to know there's only Yoteva and nothing else. So obviously he's 100% only good. So if we come across something that's evil, we can't say, oh, that's evil, like it's something independent from Yoteva. We've got to say, okay, this is evil. What's hidden behind that? It's got to be Yoteva. There's only Yoteva. Let's do some work to transform this from this state of concealment into a state of revelation. So this is a very interesting word that Laban uttered, obviously. And then I've put, the nations are blessed on account of the Mashiach who is hidden among them. So he is hidden, very hidden. And Laban said to him, so this is the verse, and Laban said to him, if only I had now found favour in your eyes. I have divined, and the Lord has blessed me for your sake. So that's where I got the nations are blessed on the account of Mashiach is hidden among them. He's talking to Jacob. Okay, and he didn't want him to leave, but Yaakov knew he could leave because Yosef had been born, and he would be able to perceive in Yosef the seed that would ultimately overcome Esau, his brother, and be able to subdue him. Okay, so he finally, once he had Yosef, he knew that he had the power. He'd given birth to the power of that would ultimately defeat the negative aspect of his own brother and bring him into that place of subjugation. Okay, so he wanted to leave Laban. He'd suffered enough, and but Laban then was worried because he knew that if Yaakov goes, the blessing goes. So we can even read a little bit into that, can't we? It's very interesting. It's got 2,416 regularly, which is 16 times 151. Mikvah, which erases doubt as to the Mashiach, is the biggest concealment of all regarding Moshiach Ben Yosef is Amalek, doubt. It's falsehood as well, sheker, and falsehood and doubt. But the main concealment, the hardest concealment, is doubt regarding Moshiach. And we've got to take that doubt and wrestle with it and defeat it completely. We can't be in a situation where we allow doubt to survive. So we know that the you can't leave any trace of the Amalekites. You've got to completely and totally erase all doubts. So obviously, if it's doubt that's concealing Mashiach, when you erase those doubts and annihilate those doubts, rather than leave those doubts to haunt you or whatever, you get to the truth. You get from a concealment to a revelation. You get from something very negative and very destructive. Amalek can destroy you physically but spiritually as well, because ultimately doubt regarding Moshiach is doubt in the name Yoteva. Because we're talking about the Mashiach of Yoteva here, that we have to have faith in order to have complete faith in the name Yoteva is one of the 13 principles of faith. Okay, and it's one of the aspects of faith that need restoring whilst we are in this situation that we're in. Okay, so it's got 499 ordinally. That's actually quite a significant number in itself, to be honest. I don't think we'll get a chance to drill down into that, but there's all kinds of interesting concepts there. So this word I have divined, Nachash, comes to 768, so we absolutely know that it's related to Yosef. They did not know that Yosef understood. We know that is related to it. And I hope through what I've been able to speak about, the fact that Yaakov left because he could perceive in Yosef something that was able to defeat his own brother Esau, which that's what we're trying to rectify, aren't we? We're trying to rectify our bodies. Esau represents our bodies, Yaakov represents our souls. So, we're trying to bring our bodies into a place of true service to the name Yoteva. And then we've got this concept as well. I have divined. Okay, it comes to 843, but that is 3 times 281. 281 is a rouah, shepherd. So what did he divine? It's something to do with the Mashiach, and it's something to do with the concept of the shepherd. And what do we await? We await the one shepherd. That's what we're in a process of being rectified in order to be able to receive the one shepherd. Who is the one shepherd? The one shepherd is Moshiach Ben David. When is he revealed? When the stick of Yehuda and the stick of Yosef are brought together as one. Okay, so this is the concept of the name Yoteva revealed within the letter of the law, the stick of Yosef, the stick of Yehuda, and the stick of Yosef represents the name Yoteva revealed out with the letter of the law, higher levels of mercy. Why higher levels of mercy? Because the lost house of Israel required higher levels of mercy in order to be drawn close. They had no merit within the letter of the law. They had to be given, in order to be brought close to the name Yoteva, they had to have a higher revelation of mercy that was not even based on merit at all. The name that the Jews have received is the outer aspect of the name Yoteva, and that is the 13 attributes of mercy as revealed in Exodus. The stick of Yosef is the 13 attributes as revealed in the book of Micah chapter 7, which is related to the level of Yechida, the thorn of the letter Yod, the crown of the letter Yod. Okay, so and Keter, which means crown, they're a higher level of mercy. They're not within the letter of the law, because we'd sinned so, the lost house of Israel, we didn't even know who they are, and they'd sinned so greatly, paganism and everything like that. They had no merit whatsoever. They were sacrificing children and everything. It was just pure evil. So they couldn't be shown a level of mercy that was required to be revealed within the letter of the law. What part of the law was they keeping? Nothing. They had to be shown above the letter of the law. They couldn't be shown mercy that was based on the letter of the law, the Torah I'm talking about. We're talking about a depraved lot. In order to fulfill Yod His Vav His word, these need to be shown a higher level of mercy, But it was everything happens. From the concealment comes the revelation. So it was concealed to them, their identity, but from that concealment came forth the revelation of the higher levels of mercy, the inner dimension of the name Yoteva. So the exile and the lostness of the house of Israel, I'm talking about the house of Yosef, lost in the nations, completely lost to their identity. The identity completely descended into utter and absolute depravity. Okay, what was that concealment for? What was that hiddenness for? What was the purpose of it? To reveal the higher levels of mercy. The inner dimension of the name Yoteva, as what we find, the 13 principles of mercy. Everything is about revelation, but you have to take the concealment in order to reveal. Because, like I say, Yoteva doesn't say, here I am. It gives us a very mysterious set of circumstances. We've got to unravel it all. Okay, so let's go and have a look at this. Right, so this is just a little bit of a drill down into this. Let me see what numbers I'm looking at. Okay, so 2,416, which we know is related to mikveh. Okay, is related to this concept. Michetz shenatayim. And we looked at that word, didn't we? That shenatayim was the first in the list of all those multiples where the regular is a multiple of the ordinal. So shenatayim, the 2 years, is related to this concept. So at the end of 2 full years, that Pharaoh was dreaming, and these were the 2 full years that Yosef was in the pit, suffering, the 2 extra years that he had from being when the cupbearer left to when Pharaoh finally, when the cupbearer finally remembered Yosef to Pharaoh. So Miket Shenatayim Yomim U Pharaoh Holem. At the end of 2 full years, the Pharaoh was dreaming, and we can see how significant this is because Mashiach, the initial letters, spell Moshiach, and we have a leap over, a Pesach over Pharaoh. I've done a brilliant teaching. It's the one where it's got like the mask of Tutankhamun on the actual video, and it goes over this concept, why there's a leap over Pharaoh, and it relates it back to Yonah Hanavi going to Nineveh and things like that. Absolutely brilliant, which we've just read on Yom Kippur. This is Sukkot that we're in now, Sukkot 2021, the second day. Okay, so the initial letters is we skip over Pesach, Passover, Pharaoh, and then it spells Mashiach. Okay, just the words that highlighted in red spell Mashiach, and so these words highlighted in red come to 1,208, and as we can see, that is 2 times that. So we've got a massive connection to the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef back to this verse again, highly messianic verse, which contains this word, Nachash. And then what else have we got? Okay, I'm not going to go into all those things. And then we've got, and the Ancient of Days sat, his raiment was as white as snow. So obviously this again is a highly messianic prophecy. Okay, so that comes to 1,208 also, which is 8 times 151, 8 times mikveh. And mikveh is what we want what we need in order to erase doubt. I've gone over that a lot. Basically, one of the words used to erase, we commanded to erase Amalek, one of the words comes to 453, and 453 is 3 times mikveh. So we know that erasing the name of Amalek from under heaven and the mikveh, going into and immersing for spiritual reasons, especially when you have got the intention to erase the doubts that you have in the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef, or the concept of Mashiach, and in any of the aspects of faith. If you've got doubt in any of the aspects of faith, it's going to bring you into a closer union with the name Yoteva, and the mikveh is very much associated with that concept. Okay, and then you've got in the north, when he made it, I do not see. So this is another highly messianic text, mysterious text from the book of Job, but there's a lot in there. I've done a full analysis of that. I haven't brought all the analysis out, but sometimes I come across various ones, but obviously we know there's something highly messianic about it because it connects us to all these concepts. Okay. And then also, let's see what else we've got. Look, we've got Moshe and Yeshua. This is one of the fillings out of Moshe and Yeshua, comes to 199. So we can see that's connected to that. That's 7 times 199. And we've also got a connection even here. We've got a connection because it's the concept of Mashiach. It's like up here, look, 1000 plus 208. Okay. So 1000 is Moshiach Ben Yosef plus Moshiach Ben David, when David has got the additional yod, and then it's added on to that 208. So we've got 208 there, Moshe and Yeshua, and we've also got 208 is Moshiach Ben David, spelt with the additional yod, plus Moshiach Ben Yosef, 208. Okay, so I've said here, see over this 192. So we're going to go back to the ordinal now, because this is another incredible, it's an incredible number and it's incredibly messianic. That's why I'm wanting to drill down into all these concepts, because this particular verse links up to some major messianic concepts. So let's go and have a look at this 192 now. We've got the concept of the Mashiach of Yoteva, okay? So this is written about, I've taken this from Lamentations 4:20. There's more than one instance where it is written in the Tanakh, Moshiach Adonai, okay, or Mashiach Yoteva. Okay, it comes to 384 plus 78 ordinally, which comes to 462, and as I've put it there, 2 times 231. 78 here is 2 times 39, and that 39 is Moshe, ordinally. However, Moshe is 349 regular, 39 ordinally, like I've just pointed out up here, and together they come to 384. So we know Moshe is the Mashiach of Yoteva. Okay, but we also know that he, the soul of Moshe, or the soul of Mashiach, shall we say, came back in the life of Yeshua. Yeshua is the prophet like Moshe. How like him he was him in a certain way, because Moshe was the soul of Mashiach also. Okay, and Yeshua, and that's why you've got these incredible connections between Moshe and Yeshua. And I've done loads of teachings. You can go look up the videos where it says Moshe is Yeshua or Moshe and Yeshua. There's a whole string of wonderful teachings, and they're all very short. You know, some of them are like 5 minutes long or something like that. But some really key gematrias to point out the unity between the concept of Moshe and Yeshua. Okay. We've also got this. So 384 is 2 times 192. So the ordinal of what we've just been looking at on that verse about, they did not know that Yosef understood. So 190, that's the ordinal of 192. So we can see that it's 192 is absolutely and clearly directly related to the concept of Mashiach. Okay. But also Eliyahu comes to 52 ordinally. Regular, 34 ordinally, and Yonah comes to 71 regularly, 35 ordinally, and together they add up to 192. So we've got the whole concept of Eliyahu, the prophet that must precede the revelation of Mashiach, and we've also got the concept of Yonah, which Yeshua said, Yonah is the only sign that I'll give this wicked and adulterous generation. And we can see that 2 times that is 384, connected to Moshe and connected to the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef. Mashiach of Adonai. And then we've got this as well, and the Son of Mercy shall rise with healing in its wings, for you who fear my name, comes to an ordinal 384. So it's all about the Mashiach. This whole concept, the Son of Mercy shall rise with healing in its wings, all about the concept of Mashiach. It's got a regular of 2,220. Okay, so that is Serach filled. Serach is the woman who found the bones of Yosef with Moshe. So she's an extremely important messianic figure. Comes up in my teachings all the time. Okay, very important. So clearly we can see she's also connected to the concept of Mashiach of Yoteva. And then we've got, and this is the outstretched hand over all the nations, 732 regular, 192 ordinally. So we've got this concept also. I think this, no, oh right, oh okay, so we've also got the fact that the regular and ordinal of this added together comes to 924, and 924 is 2 times 462. So we know the whole regular and ordinal of the Mashiach of Yoteva comes to 462. So this is very much related to revelation of the Mashiach of Yoteva, not the Mashiach of our fantasy fiction minds, which is usually a snake. So you've got Christians believing rubbish about Yeshua, calling him Jesus, celebrating his birth at Christmas and his death at Easter, and all pagan rituals, and all kinds of rubbish. Even the New Testament, there's errors within it that cannot be ignored at all. So there's all kinds of that create a false concept of who this man was, and then the whole abandoning of the Torah and a whole separation from Judaism, which happened within the Catholic Church. All this it's just basically a Roman version of who they think this man was, and they've deified him in a way that is idol worship. There is some truth in him being a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, but you got to be able to distinguish between finite and infinite. And I've done teachings about that. I'm not going to go over that now. But basically, the whole concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef in Christianity is utter and absolute fantasy fiction. It's a serpent. It's the opposite of a Mashiach. It's a serpent. And that serpent bites. Who does it bite? It bites all those Christians that are believing in that serpent. And then they go around biting other people. Look how much blood has been spilled in the name of Jesus, which is a fantasy fiction version of the Mashiach, but there's truth in it. Okay, so we've got to be able to, from that concealment, bring about a revelation of the name Yoteva, because if not, we're living in a world where that concealment remains. And that looks like something other than Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh remains, and that looks like something other than Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh in our mind is a false god that we have created. Because we have to say there is only Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. So even when we're looking at things like that, we have to see the purpose in everything, and we have to see from that concealment the revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, and how this has been used in order to fulfill his supernal will. Okay, so we've got to seek out the revelation from within the concealment itself. We've got to transform that concealment, all them lies, all that false Messiah. You have to transform that from the darkness that it is into light. And likewise, the darkness of the concept of Jesus within Judaism, it's repulsive. I go about this all the time. Yet the concept of Yeshu is a glorious concept. It was the will of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh that this be done, but it's not held with any manner of dignity within Judaism. What they're looking at is they're seeing the false god that's in this world, and they're not seeing beyond that. So, it's I pointed this out to my Jewish friends before now. I said, so what do you see when you look at that then? Oh, it's a false god. Oh, is it? So I says, because when I look at it, I see there's only Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. So who's got the false god? And it says you're not to have a false god before you. I said, in fact, you better get on and see where Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is in this matter. Because all the time you've got a false god in your mind, when you perceive that reality, you've got a lie there. You need to look beyond. You need to wrestle with what this concealment until it reveals the truth. So Moshiach Ben Yosef, the concept of Jesus, Yeshua within Judaism is just as much a false Messiah, because it's killing the truth. It's preventing a revelation. Nobody goes looking in that place to find, to transform that concealment into a revelation. And I've talked about it before. Within Judaism, it's a double revelation. It's a double concealment, but from that will come a double revelation, because they're looking at what the Edomites are doing to this concept of Yeshua and judging that. So not only have you got the concealment, the Edomites have got the truth regarding the soul of Mashiach. They have been touched by the soul of Mashiach. They have experienced the revelation of the name Yoteva, but they know nothing about it. They don't know how to interpret it properly, so they've interpreted it along the pagan lines that they used to. The Jews would be able to interpret the reality better. But what do? They don't. They look at it and say, oh, look at that, idol worship. Yeshu boiling in a pot of excrement. It's got a double problem. The people that could understand actually what has happened ignore it and keep before them a false god. And that is how they interpret the reality of these last 2,000 years. There's no false gods in this world. There's Yoteva, and that is it. We've got to accustom ourselves to seeing, okay, it's like he hides behind a mask. But, what are we going to do? Believe the scary mask that he hides behind? Or know that, it's our Father in heaven? What is before us? What is before us? You've got to be careful. You've got to be very careful, and you've got to be able to perceive the truth, even in the concealment, the revelation, even in the concealment. So anyway, I think I've gone on enough about that. But like I say, and you've got the concept of Jesus, Yeshua, within Islam. So there's things that are true about the life of Yeshua within Islam, and there's things that are not. It's not the whole stuff. It's not the whole. Nobody has got the whole concept right yet, and we've got to have a complete faith in the coming of the Mashiach, because it's an aspect of the name Yoteva. It's a revelation of the name Yoteva. And if we've got fantasy fiction versions of this reality, we've got a serpent rather than Mashiach. And that serpent is biting us and keeping us in exile. We need to get every single aspect of the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef right, so that we see very clearly there is only Yoteva and absolutely nothing else. And when we are looking at the last 2,000 years of history, we are very clear what's before us. Yoteva. Not some false god, not some false Messiah that's biting us. Yoteva is what's before us, not some serpent hung up on a staff. The serpent hung up on the staff should cause us to think, hang on a minute, look at this folly. I've pointed this out before. The serpent hanging on the staff, if you pick up the false concept of Mashiach and dangle it in front of wise people, they should be able to pick up, right, yeah, I can see that there's no such thing as a false Messiah. This thing that we believe in is false. You point out the flaws within Christianity. Even mentioning the fact that Yeshua is Jewish, to some people, it's like, oh, how dare you say such a wicked thing about it's as if you've cursed him. This is how demented people have got. And you point out the flaws about Christianity, or the changing of the Shabbat. All these things, if you point them out, all the flaws within the New Testament. This folly that creates a false Messiah, that is a snake, like a snake that bites. If you present that and lift it up and say, can you see what you are believing is the Messiah is actually falsehood and lies that's biting you and causing nothing but distress and destruction in this world, hopefully they'll twig on and they'll realise that this thing that was biting them is Yotevafe's will, until they apply all their faculties, overcome the falsehood, overcome the concealment, and overcome the doubt to reveal the truth about Mashiach. Because in the truth about Mashiach, it's only a revelation of the name Yoteva ultimately. So why stick with this serpent that bites you? Fathom out what the truth is. And that goes to the Jews likewise. The concept of Yeshu, which is a glorious concept that allows the Moshiach Ben Yosef to descend within us into this exile in order to subdue the nations, in order to subdue our bodies, in order to wreck rectify our faith in the name Yoteva. It's a glorious concept. It's a provision that he made for all humanity. But look at the way that this concept, Yeshua, is viewed within Judaism, which is, it's a real, true revelation of the Mashiach of Yoteva. And in the Talmud is written about boiling in a pot of excrement. That's the degree to which falsehood has taken root. This is the Torah of Moshe in exile. So you've got this falsehood. And look, within Islam, Yeshua is seen as a Muslim. It's just garbage. This is not the truth. So it creates problems and it creates death and destruction. It really does bite. And when we mean bite, it bites hard. This is something that we need to resolve and resolve quickly. And the more we are able to reveal the truth about the concept of Mashiach by lifting up our own stupidity before our eyes. Look, take a good long look at what you are believing in and the effect that false belief has. And what actually results in this false belief. Arrogance. That's what the ultimate result is. Complete arrogance. And that arrogance, it brings separation because people think that they have got the truth and they are more supreme, and it's all right pointing your finger and seeing the error and the falsehood that other people are believing in all the time whilst you believe in rubbish yourself. So you need to lift up this concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef, the serpents, like Yeshua says, just as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so too the Son of Man must be lifted up. He was the Mashiach. So too the concept of Mashiach must be lifted up. The thing that's biting you is going to be the thing that ultimately cures you, because your own stupidity should be the thing you think, oh, just wait a minute, this falsehood is biting. And we want to be healed. So you're going to have to, how do you get healed? You get healed with the truth. It's the truth that heals you. It's going from a situation where your falsehood conceals the name Yoteva. The falsehood that we believe regarding the concept of Mashiach conceals the name Yoteva. The truth reveals the name. We can take the concealment itself to reveal the truth. There's only Yoteva, nothing else. Nothing else. Everything is all about his supreme will. He has made it that way, where the concealment itself is transformed into a revelation. Like I say, he handed nothing to us on a plane. He handed nothing to us on a plane. And then you've got this concept here, fine woolen coat and his brother's saw. So this is the tunic. This is the tunic that was given to, oh, there's a letter missing there. Ketonet, I think it is. I'll have to put that in. But this is the fine woolen tunic and his brother's saw. So obviously what's Yosef's coat that Yaakov made him specially. Let me just go make this alteration because it'll annoy me. Just wait a minute. Okay, so it is ketoneth. Ketoneth pasaim wa yiru ehal. Fine coat, woolen coat. Let's just get down to it. So it's got a regular of 1,308 and it's got an ordinal of 192. Okay. Here, however, and together they add up to 1,500, which is 5 times, it's 10 times wing. Wing is very much a concept of Mashiach. We know from here, look, and the Son of Mercy shall rise with healing in its wings for you who fear my name. So, I think that uses the word kanaf. I can't see it in there, though. Oh, yeah. Bich no peha, kanaf, basically. So, wing comes to 150. But this word here, it's highlighted in red, tisrach, is something that the Vilna Gaon pointed out. He said the wisdom of the sages shall stink. Now this word has a double meaning. It can mean tisrach will stink, but it also is to do with the overlap of the overlap in curtain in the tabernacle. And I've put there's a teaching that I've done on Sarach, and it talks about the overlapping curtain in the temple, or the back door to the temple, I think that the name of the video is absolutely brilliant. It goes through this whole concept of, and another one that I've done is the one on Vilna Gaon, where it says the wisdom of the sages will stink, or something like that. It's absolutely brilliant concept. Okay, but basically that statement, the wisdom of the sages, it comes to 4 times Yeshua, and the 4 times 386, and the ordinal of it also comes to 4 times the ordinal of Yeshua, 4 times 53. So it's very much connected to the fact that the wisdom of the sages will stink. And it's also connected to this concept of the overhanging curtain. It's a wonderful, wonderful teaching. It comes to 192. So there we've got the connection. We know it's messianic through this number here. Highly, highly messianic. And obviously we know because it's the quote that was given to Yosef. Okay, but this word is very significant that's highlighted. It's every third letter from the end of the word. So it's very hidden and concealed, this whole concept. And it's also related to Serach Bat Asher, what we've got up here. The meaning of her name is spelt differently. It's Shin Resh Chet, where this is Samech Resh Chet. It sounds exactly the same. Sarach. You can get those 3 letters to make the word Sarach, which is exactly the same as Serach Bat Asher, who found the bones of Yosef. Okay, so there's all kinds of wonderful, wonderful connections. That's what I'm saying, basically. This 1308 here, not only have we got this massive connection to the concept of Mashiach, Mashiach of Yosef and Moshe and all the other messianic things, but the actual regular of that is 4 times 327. I've pointed out that wing, like what we've got here, is 150. All right, so 150 plus 42, which is the ordinal of wing, also comes to 192. So you can see the concept of the wing is very messianic in every way you look at it. This number is related to it. This number is related to it. Okay? And the whole concept of Yosef, who is the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef is the right wing of the bird of redemption. You've got Moshe, that's the body of the bird, Moshiach Ben Yosef, that's the left wing of the bird, and then Moshiach Ben David will come as the right wing. And it's all to do with the way that we serve the name Yoteva, and only him, nothing else. We've got him before us and nothing else. It's it's like it's fully revealed. There is no more concealment. So we've transformed all this that we doubt and all the falsehood, we've transformed it ultimately into a revelation of the name Yoteva. So we're serving only him and nothing else. If we don't have a revelation, we will in some way be serving that concealment. We will be running from our enemies. We will be making provisions so our enemies, and we won't be serving the name Yoteva in a direct way. It'll be in an indirect way. It's like we have to keep away from them wicked people over there who believe that rubbish. And it gets more and more and more separate. Whereas Moshiach Ben Yosef is all about unity. We've got to have unity within humanity. Got to have shalom. So all this falsehood, it ends up that you're serving the falsehood, you're serving the concealment, you're not serving the revelation of the name Yoteva. You're serving the concealment, which is not the way it should be. The whole concept of Mashiach is to serve the revelation of the name, the revelation, the oneness, the absolute authority of the name Yoteva, and so serve only him. So you're not motivated, I'm not going to do that so I don't suffer, and I'm not going to do that because of this, that and other. I am doing this in my life because of the sheer love and joy I have to serve the name Yoteva and only him. It's a different way of doing it, isn't it? From a place of concealment, you truly are serving the name Yoteva. Sorry, from a place of revelation, you are serving the name Yoteva with love and joy. And this is the concept of Mashiach. This is how we are to serve. We're supposed to be able to fly into the heights. We're not supposed to we're not supposed to serve the concealment that restricts us and suppresses us and oppresses us. We've got to, we're sort of trying to appease this suffering in some way. I've mentioned this before. You know, it's like you're always running from your own shadow. That's not serving Yoteva. That's just serving the fears and doubts, the falsehood in life has created. So you've got to get it right. You've got to transform that evil into good. Right, 1308, 4 times 327, which is Moshiach Ben David, 82. This is ordinarily. Moshiach Ben Yosef, 116, and Moshiach Ben Ephraim. Add them up together. These are the 3 concepts of Mashiach. Moshiach Ben Ephraim is an appellation for Moshiach Ben Yosef. Okay, but it comes 327. And then you've got this, my Lord is my strength. 123, which is a very significant number. That's Kate's Shem Lechoshech. He sets an end to darkness. What darkness? The darkness where we can't see the Mashiach clearly. It's a serpent that's biting us. And the darkness of the concealment that comes as a consequence of that. Okay. What concealment? Because in the light of Moshiach Ben Yosef, we see the name Yoteva revealed. In that light, we see light. So we've got to end that darkness where we're not able to see the light of Moshiach Ben Yosef, and through that light we see the light of the name Yoteva. So we need to end that darkness, but it's not going to just automatically end. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got to work together to end that darkness. And then it's got an ordinal of 69, which is 3 times Chaya. And Chaya is the rectified name for Eve. Together they come to 192. So we know my Lord is my strength is very much connected to this. Where do we get that from? We get that from Habakkuk 3:19. Highly, highly messianic text. So God the Lord is my strength. He made my feet as swift as the hinds, and he guides me on high places. To the conductor to play with my melodies. This is a highly messianic text. I've done an entire teaching on it, and I'm pretty sure I've got some videos and mention about hinds' feet. They're really worth a watch. And I'm going to leave. I'll just quickly go check the next slide, but I think I'm going to leave it there. It's a good place to finish. So we've done a real massive drill down. Okay, we've done a real massive drill down into this concept of they did not know that Yosef understood. Okay, and it's pulled up some highly relevant messianic concepts for us to dwell on. We've got to make sure that we are not getting bitten by our own fantasy fiction version of Moshiach Ben Yosef. We've got to end this suffering, this concealment of the name Yoteva in our lives. And we've got to use that very concealment to bring about a revelation of his name for all humanity, because the revelation of Moshiach Ben Yosef, the revelation that we gain from the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef is the power to unite all humanity, because we've all suffered from it. We have all been bitten by that serpent. We have all been bitten by the false concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef that we all carry. So this folly should unite us when we attain revelation through it. Okay, and I'll leave it at that, and I will say shalom.